there are many of our people who are thinking more deeply and more broadly, looking at it as it actually is, and are beginning to see it more in the international context and the relation that it has with the African struggle, a human rights struggle, or the struggle for human rights. And as such, we can then take it into the United Nations.
And bring about the freedom of these people by any means necessary.
Hello, family. Welcome to We Charge Colonialism. We Charge Colonialism. We are an organization that is seeking recognition that Africans in America are being colonized. And if you want any evidence that we're being colonized, just look at what's going on right now with the coronavirus. Look at the treatment that our people have been receiving. Look at the fact that our people are dying at a disproportionate rate from any other people. Just look at these horrible health outcomes. This is exactly what happens whenever you are a colony within a state. This is exactly what happens when your community is a colonized community. If you're interested in joining Me Charge Colonialism, if you're interested in just joining our efforts, if you're interested in spreading the word about the colonized state that our people are in, I encourage you to email us at wechargecolonialism@gmail.com, and you can also visit our website, wechargecolonialism.org.
What I wanted to talk about today is the real reason why the United States government has not afforded a reparations check to people of African descent. We've heard so many different reasons why over the years. We've heard people say, for example, that they just don't have the money to actually do what is right for Black people. We've heard people say, oh, it's been a long time, although the effects are still very much in place. Apparently, because it's been a long time, they're absolved of the crimes against humanity that were done against our ancestors. We've just heard so many excuses. Yet, the United States government has shown that they do have the funds to actually give aid to Americans if they want to. They have the funds. They've shown this through the coronavirus epidemic, and they've given millions and millions of dollars out, and it's going to just go higher and higher because there has to be another stimulus check that's going to be given to more Americans. So this really to me is just like a slap in the face to people who have been calling for reparations, regardless of if you're calling for reparations from within the ADOS movement or whether you're calling for reparations from a Pan-Africanist standpoint. It's just a slap in the face, I think. Now, the question is, why now is the U.S. government willing to do it? Why weren't they willing to do it before? Now, keep in mind that from the coronavirus, we see that our people are the most affected right now. We're dying at the highest rate of all people, which is funny because as much as everyone else wants to be categorized as minority or being disenfranchised, for some reason, whenever things happen, we're always the ones who have it the hardest. We're always the ones who are the sickest. We're always the ones that are getting killed at a highest rate. And the coronavirus has just been one chapter of a long, long story of these things happening in Black America. Of course, there's always been issues that happen in the whole country and it would negatively affect us. And when you think about, for example, the Great Depression, that was another instance where, yeah, white America went through, but guess what? Black America went through way worse. The 2008 recession, yeah, white America went through, but Black America was just dragged through the mud because of the actions of others. Now, we're dying at a much higher rate, which proves that there has to be some type of difference in treatment, right? If you're actually trying to address the issues, you can't treat Black people like you would white people. And so there's so much evidence that we've just been suffering from different issues, whether environmentally, living inside of places where we're exposed to pollutants, whether our food supply is not adequate, different issues that we're exposed to, and yet there's been no movement on the part of the government to actually rectify these things. So the question is why? And I'm starting to learn a lot more about how the government has treated Black people and how they have viewed Black people. And one of the major things that I'm realizing is that anytime that there has been something like aid or welfare given to any group, the question was always, how do we keep this from affecting the Black community and from benefiting the Black community? So when you look back, for example, at the Social Security Act or the New Deal, whenever you look back at the post-World War II the GI bills, there's always historically been a question of how do we keep this welfare that we're going to give white people from benefiting black people? And to me, that should be the most telling thing when it comes to the reparations question. A lot of people are worried and or they're asking the wrong questions. They're pushing the wrong issues. If your issue is, oh, we deserve reparations and you're going to give it to us just because, when you don't realize that there has been an intentional effort by the United States government that is not just conservative, but conservative and liberal, from keeping black people from getting out of the economic position that we are in. If you understand that, then you stop looking at the issues so simply. It's not a matter of just getting someone to promise you reparations. You have to completely change the nature of black people, the relationship that black people have to the United States government. And if you're not able to do that, if you're not willing to do that, then you're not going to be effective. That's the problem, is that we always think it's just about getting a promise or getting something specific. I've heard over and over again in recent years, oh, we just need someone to say something tangible. Or there's been the effort just to try to get someone to speak directly to black issues instead of talking about other issues. But even more than that, the question is, how are we going to change a causal relationship of oppression from the government to black people? That's the real question. And is the government willing to do that? That's the bigger question. Because for one, they've shown no willingness that they're willing to change that relationship, because realistically, if black people are not in the position of subjugation, who's going to take our place? They don't have a substitute who they're going to abstract from inside of the prison industrial complex, for example. They don't have a substitute for who they're going to abstract from as a labor force. They don't have a substitute people who is going to take our place. And so it's not just an issue of reparations anymore. It has to be an issue of revolution. If you're not talking about revolution, then to me, you're not talking. Personally, if you're not talking about completely changing the system from the bottom up, then you're not talking. You're not saying anything. If you're not talking about undoing not just getting something that's going to benefit you now, but undoing the historical legacy of slavery. And the legacy of slavery is not just our ancestors being oppressed or our ancestors being enslaved. It's the fact that it was a whole system based on us as chattel property. If you're not about undoing that, then you're not really going to get to the issue. And so how do we do that? We can't just focus on election politics. A lot of us, our minds are too wrapped into presidential elections or legislative elections. That's not enough anymore. We have to realize that we need a movement from the people. A movement from the people that demands our sovereignty, a movement from the people that demands our worthiness of no longer being even treated as a people in the system. We have to think outside of the system, because if we're trying to appeal to the same system that has recognized us as being a subject of exploitation to stop exploiting, whatever our ancestors always said, why are you trying to appeal to your oppressor to stop oppressing you, thinking that that's what's going to be enough? Now, in my assessment, and I've said this many times on this channel, good luck getting that without outside help. Good luck getting that recognition without outside help from, whether it be Africa, whether it be the Caribbean, whether it be Africans who are in the UK or France or Germany or wherever. Good luck getting that without solidarity, a global solidarity movement for people who are facing the same hell that you're facing. Good luck. And when people say, oh, we can do it without them, we can do it by just focusing on ourselves, I say, well, look at the long history of reparations before you. What has it shown you? It's shown you that the only way that the United States government is going to possibly pass anything that is similar or reminiscent of reparations is if they can withdraw it whenever it's no longer in their benefit. Meaning, reparations is conditional. As long as it benefits the government to do it, they will do it. If it does not benefit the government to do it, they will not do it. That is how they have operated towards our people. They never give us any freedoms. They never give us any laws that are supposed to protect us unless they have a benefit from those laws. Understand that the Civil Rights Act, that didn't just come about because, the government wanted to do the right thing, or because black people was protesting. The real reason it came about was that the treatment of blacks inside of America became so widespread that it spread outside of this country and around the world. Therefore, the United States government felt like during the Cold War that they were threatened by the image of being an oppressive government, and they wanted to ensure that the outside countries were not going to demonize them as a country. So everything's done for a reason. Nothing's going to be done as a favor, and certainly nothing's going to be done within the confines of the system. So that's really all I wanted to talk about. Just a quick subject, just to say that we have to understand and read the times and interpret the times and understand what time it is. It is not time for us to go within the realm of election politics and seek some type of remedy from the people who have been oppressing us. If we're being realistic, that's just not going to do anything. And if you say, well, how do I know, or what basis do you have on that? I say there's 400 years of a precedent that our people don't benefit from anything, or we're not going to get anything from this government that is actually going to truly benefit us unless it is in the government's best interest. But the only way that we get it to be in the government's best interest is when there's a outside force that is imposing on the government the fact that these people that you've been oppressing, you can no longer do that. And the only way that I say we can do that is through Pan-Africanism. So that's all I have to say on this subject. What are your guys' thoughts, particularly on the prospect of reparations, on a stimulus check, on things that are going on in that realm? That's all I wanted to ask you about. So I'll see you guys in the next video.